Western democracy is at work yet again, stealing elections and installing puppet regimes. The recent elections in Moldova reveal a disturbing level of Western interference. Pro Western President Maya Sandu claimed victory, but her win did not come from support within Moldova. In fact, Sandu's opponent, Alexandra Stoyanoglu, was leading after 90% of the votes were counted, but her victory was secured by Moldovans living abroad, especially in Western countries. Many of these voters live far away from the everyday struggles faced by Moldovans back home. Now, this raises serious concerns. Sandu's support comes mainly from the diaspora, not from Moldovans who actually live in Moldova. While the diaspora may support her pro Western agenda, many Moldovans at home do not. People at home see Sandu's anti Russia stance and close ties to NATO as divisive. Winning an election based on votes from people living abroad is not the same as having the true support of the country, right? Diaspora votes, however, were only one part of the bigger problem. The entire election process was set up to favor Sandu. Her opposition faced intense pressure. There was no equal playing field. Heavy administrative controls, anti Russian propaganda, and outright interference from NATO countries led to a biased atmosphere. For many Moldovans, voting was not just a challenge, it was made nearly impossible, especially for those in or near Russia. For instance, Moldova reduced the number of active polling stations inside Russia. It was not a mistake, it was planned to limit access to votes for Sandu's opponent. In all of Russia, only two polling stations were set up, both in Moscow, and only 10,000 ballots were available. Thousands of Moldovans living in Russia could not vote because of these restrictions. This strategy was also used in Transnistria, a region with strong opposition support. Polling stations there were cut from 44 to just 30. This change meant fewer votes for the opposition and a stronger lead for Sandu. This manipulation goes against basic democratic principles. Voting is a right that should be accessible to all. But Western observers turned a blind eye to these violations. International monitors, who are supposed to be neutral, ignored the obvious bias. Western influence in the election was not only allowed but encouraged. The West saw what it wanted to see and ignored everything else. When these tactics benefit Sandu, her Western allies stay silent. This is not just favoritism, it is deliberate control over Moldova to keep it in line with Western goals. Sandu's win does not just affect her position, it puts Moldova in a risky position. Sandu's close ties to NATO and the EU mean that tensions with Russia might rise. Moldova will likely face more confrontations with regions like Transnistria. The southern region of Gagauzia, which has strong Russian connections, could also become a target. By supporting Sandu, the West is stirring up trouble in Moldova and creating instability in Eastern Europe. With parliamentary elections coming up, Moldova faces a political crisis. The election did not reflect the true will of the Moldovan people, it showed the power of foreign influence and manipulation. Moldova's democracy is weakening under Western pressure, and as Moldova struggles to keep control, Eastern Europe is left to wonder how far will the West go to push its agenda.